So I think it's safe to say that most people are addicted to their phone and social media, or most people are trying their absolute hardest to curb what they don't want to admit as a phone and social media addiction. At the bare minimum, we all can agree that something super sus is going on with our relationship to these metal devices that we now carry all day, every day, that seemingly spawned out of nowhere and are practically now glued to everybody's hands. At the time of this recording, You'd Be Hotter If You Logged Out has over 1.2 million views. Not because I said anything revolutionary, maybe the way that I presented the information was a little bit more digestible for people, but all it did was elicit a visceral emotion that we all have surrounding our relationship with our phones, no matter where you are in the world, your age, your gender, your religion. Some of you were extremely inspired after part one to never be passive about what you consume and how that makes you think, act, and feel. Others, at the bare minimum, were willing to accept that it might be a problem in their life. So part two is about the protocol. How do you actually build a life offline when majority of the world, your friends and your family members use these apps to stay connected? Is it realistic for us to be completely logged off and expect that people in our lives that maybe don't have the same mentality put in extra effort to ensure that we stay in the loop? Because while I do believe it's important for many of us who have been deep in the doom scrolling trenches for years to go cold turkey, whether it's for 24 hours, 48 hours, a week, a month, nothing is going to change when you come back if you do not have a routine, a protocol to come back and fall on that's realistic. So that's exactly what we're going to unpack today. Hello, my name is Danae. Super excited for this yap today. While watching or listening on Spotify, which is linked in the description, if you find it really valuable, definitely give it a like and subscribe. It's free, more than helping me. It pushes this sort of content to the YouTube homepage so we can get everybody rallied up. Personally, my Roman Empire is the fact that we have these people design these apps and do everything they can to ensure that their family members and especially their young kids do not use these apps while they make them more addictive for us, the masses, so they can continue stuffing their pockets with cash. It's so sickening. The reason I bring this up, though, is to remind you that these apps were intentionally designed to keep you on them and addicted. So if you feel weak when it comes to not going on your phone, not going on these apps, it is okay. Do not beat yourself up and feel a lot of shame for how difficult it is for you to be released from the shackles of this, especially if you were someone who grew up with a phone in your hand, if you're an iPad kid. It might even feel a little bit more frustrating for you because you've been able to curb addictions or bad habits in the past, but this one just has a chokehold on you. It is quite literally designed for you to do that. I mean, think of TikTok, the final boss of these addictive social media apps, the app that really took things to the next level when it came to social media addiction. It was designed to mimic the patterns of addictive slot machines. The idea is that they serve you an unpredictable mix of content so that your brain is constantly chasing the next dopamine hit. And the infinite scroll feature, which is what really changed the game, feels like a never-ending machine pull because it conditions you to stay longer and keep scrolling for that big win, all while experiencing the full range of human emotions and probably after 2 minutes, not really even tapped in. So if you do see anything valuable or you do have a big win the next day or actually in the next hour, you probably won't remember what you watched. And don't get me started on how well the algorithm knows you based on your location, the videos that you interact in, like, etc. It's trained on your fears, your fantasies, your desires. It is made so you feel like you have no control. So it does not make you weak for feeling this way. And it's okay to accept that. I think it's important to accept that because in order to practically live a life where it does not control you, you need to understand how powerful it is. It's kind of like how bad the food industry is. It's until you accept that the majority of packaged goods in America are absolutely terrible for your health, with many studies showing increasing the rate of early onset colon cancer, for example. Until you accept that, it's difficult to take on the belief that you have to go above and beyond to eat the whole foods, to avoid the thing. So you need to accept it's designed to have power over you. And once you've been hooked already, the opposite, silence, boredom, all of that becomes unbearable. I'm so thankful that I happened to be born in 1999 and also thankful to my parents who didn't really allow me to go on social media much or buy me a phone or that kind of thing because I grew up as an only child. I grew up in a lot of silence and boredom. And while sometimes it was annoying and I kind of didn't like it, because there was literally nothing else for me to do, I found ways to build my creativity muscle in my mind and entertain myself. And I think that's why a lot of people feel so depressed and sad because they fear silence so much. They never build that muscle of entertaining themselves and being creative in complete silence. So since posting that video, I've obviously had a lot of conversations and time to think about how logging out actually looks in practicality, especially as someone who's a full-time freelancer and built her career using social media. I think for every person, it's imperative that you do a cold turkey cut insofar as deleting apps for a period of time. For some of you, that may be just 24 hours to start. For others, it may be 48 hours, 7 days, 30 days. I encourage you to push it further than you can think and go above and beyond, because we've already discussed how powerful these apps are. So I know it sounds insane when I may give advice like download an app that blocks the other apps, but this is the reality of things. So if you feel like you're not going to be able to control yourself, go above and beyond, tell a friend, get the brick device, app that completely locks it so you can't do it, and really commit to that cold turkey thing. I think that's important. So you go through the stages of missing it and then realizing, wait, things are kind of good without it, or I'm kind of okay without it, or these are the thoughts that I'm having without it, and sitting in that for a while. But the issue is, I think when people do that and come back, because inevitably will come back, and at the end of the day, these are social apps where a lot of times it's the way that you can connect with your family members abroad or see people that you truly love, share important aspects of their lives. That's what, for example, Instagram was originally created for, socialization just digitally, right? So when you go back on the app, the environment didn't change. The algorithm didn't change to make it easier for you. So, if you have one bad night of doom scrolling, you're going to get back into the routine, but you're going to have a trigger again. Willpower alone, or referring back to that phase where you did the cold turkey quit, is not enticing enough for you to be like, okay, I'll stop, because of how addictive it is. So you need to have a phone protocol. You need to completely change your identity and relationship with your phone. So the best way I can put it is your phone in your life should kind of be like that cousin that you see once a year at Christmas. Or if you don't have that cousin, it's the friend that you see once a year. You don't have any problems with this person. You really actually love them. You enjoy every time you spend with them. And actually at that moment when you guys see each other, you're like, we should plan something. We should do this. We should do that. But then you don't do it. They're just not embedded in your daily life. Maybe it's because of distance or family drama. I don't know, friend drama. But the point is, they don't really affect your nervous system. You maybe think about them once in a while, but regardless, you're really happy when you spend time with them, and that time with them is very intentional. You're present when you're with them. You're feeling the depth of the emotion when you're talking to them. But when your time is cut, and you move on. That's the relationship you want with your phone. So let's talk about the cousin protocol. So the first thing is, my mindset towards my phone and social media now is that it's not the enemy. It is the enemy in the grand scheme of things, but for the purpose of this protocol, it is not the enemy. So I'm lowering its power over me, right? So we accept that it can have so much power over me. I'm fully accepting that now. To kind of gaslight myself, I'm lowering how much power it can have over me by saying it is not the enemy in my life, okay? That's number one. Next is that it can't be in my orbit all day. So visual cues, like seeing your phone constantly, always holding your phone, going on walks, everywhere you go. If your phone is constantly with you, you're giving it more power to control you, right? Because that's where the apps live. So it absolutely cannot be the first thing that you pick up when you wake up. And it absolutely cannot be the last thing that you put down before you fall asleep. And it absolutely cannot be the thing that you grab when you're bored, when you're anxious, or when you're trying to avoid something, because that will inevitably happen. And that is when you get triggered. That is when you fall back into the loops. And then all of a sudden you were doing so well, but you had one bad day, you picked it up when you were bored, and now you're back into the routine of doom scrolling. It needs to exist in your life in the same way that that cousin exists. So it's warm, it's occasional, it's intentional, it's phone time. That's the vibe. So Danae, how do you do that? Let's get into the practical tips that I personally do. I've thought of every single thing that I've done that makes this work for me. And please share in the comments if there's other things, because you guys have some very unique and interesting ways you go about things. Please share them in the comments as well. Turn off every notification, full stop. There is no need to have notifications on your personal phone, none. I have not notifications on for years, and I wholeheartedly believe it is one of the number one reasons why it's much easier for me to avoid my phone. The way that I have it set up as an iPhone user, and I'm sure everything I'm saying you can do on an Android, is every single app notification is completely off. The only notification that I have on is my mom and my dad. And if I have a partner and they've got out of the probation period, they get a favorite too. Okay. So those 2 or 3 people are favorited. That way they go through any app or anything like that. So those are the only notifications. That's because that's my lifeline. So that's the only thing that should be able to interrupt or distract me or alert me. No Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, email is important enough to get me out of my zone. And the reason that's important is because a notification reminds your mind of, oh, the dopamine over there. I said in the last video, like, it just makes you act like a little rat. Oh, more cheese, more cheese. Like, I can just keep getting more cheese, right? Because it just keeps going off. I remember being in university and getting so annoyed when I would be at cafes when there's a long table and you're working with people and the person just has their notifications on and it's vibrating and sometimes even lighting up every time. And there's so many notifications. It's like, what is going on? But especially because I haven't had notifications on for so long, that is so foreign to me. And I also think it's just like, we can all feel the table vibrating. Please turn that off. But anyways, there's literally no reason to have notifications on. Of course, if it's something like a camera app for your home to ensure that no one's breaking in or something like that, those important things, keep those on. Nothing else is that important. So I mentioned the blocker app, Freedom. The way that I use it, and maybe I'll put a visual on screen, is I create a block list. So things that I want to stay off of, which is literally all the social media apps, including YouTube, especially because I post on YouTube. It can become a thing where I'm checking notifications and comments all the time. Or if I post a video before bed and I wake up, I want to check it. So I know that can become an unhealthy habit that can lead to other things. The only thing that's not blocked is email and my iMessage app. So you have that block list. And then I have 2 different automatic time blockers. The first one is between 5 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. because 5 a.m. is the earliest that I would wake up. And that is all day. Those apps are blocked. And then between 7 p.m. and 9:30 p.m. is my window where I'll go on my phone. And then I have another time block from 9:30 p.m. to the 5 a.m. mark, and that's called better sleep, so that I'm not incentivized to scroll before bed. Now, there's a feature on Freedom where you can, I forget what it's called right now, but I'll put it on the screen where you can basically turn it on so that you cannot end the session. So there's an option in the middle of a session that you have time blocked off to end it, but you can turn this feature on, and I have that on majority of the time. In a season where I may be creating more content, or let's say something comes up, like for example, because I'm a freelance marketer, sometimes I may need to look on Instagram or Facebook for my work. I'll only do that on desktop, on Safari or Chrome. If something comes up where I actually really need to go on the app, in those periods, I won't have that extra layer of blockage on. So I can run my business for the most part with those time blocks, and sometimes on the weekend, I'll give myself a little bit more leeway, but that just automatically is my routine. So then I'm more intentional about this period where I go on my phone, I check my friends' stories, I do this and that, and then I'm like, okay, cool. And it also makes you realize you're never missing out on that much, because I think another layer that people struggle with is feeling a lot of FOMO, like, oh, what's happening on social media? Once you have this kind of routine for 2 weeks, you realize you didn't miss that much. It's not that serious. And when you come back on, you can stay up to date and keep it moving. It's just so freeing. Next, absolutely no phone in the morning. So obviously with the time blockers I just described, I don't go on my phone in the mornings. Absolutely not. It immediately fries your dopamine receptors for the day. You cannot do that. Once you have a routine where you start scrolling in the morning, the chances of you getting hard stuff done is slim to none, right? Especially once you're in this routine. The power that you have if you don't doom scroll in the morning, or even allow any sort of notification that you may see on your phone to disrupt your nervous system so early in the morning, is crazy. So for example, I'm a workout class bunny. I go to workout classes. I love it. It's efficient, whatever. So I have the app that I book at my gym. I'll check that in the morning just to make sure the class is still on, or just double check the time or whatever. And that's the only thing I may check in the morning. Other than that, I'm not listening to music or podcasts, and I'll purposely do things like not bring my headphones with me on it because I walk to the gym. It's maybe a 20-minute walk. I'll make sure that I don't bring my headphones so that I'm not incentivized, or I don't get like, oh, I should just listen to music right now, whatever. So I have a very clean, clear head, and then I get a nice hit of endorphins from my workout, and I'm feeling high, and I haven't checked my phone, and life is good. And then I'll come back and I'll try and stretch it for as long as possible. If I have a little boo, then, I may text them a little good morning with a little smooch and then go about my day, but it's no full-on conversation. It's like, okay, we're just doing this to say, hey, I'm thinking of you. Good morning, baby, and keep it going, And likewise, my phone does not have a place in my bedroom. Now, I want to get better at this. So I'm not saying I don't take my phone into my bedroom. I absolutely do. It stays on my nightstand. Something I do want to invest in for the new year is go back to the old clocks where it has the alarm and you press it down. I think my mom still has one of those. I'm going home soon. Maybe I'll steal that from her. She still has one of those in her bedroom. Because for me, the only reason you really need your phone in your bedroom at that point, if you're following all of this protocol, is for an alarm potentially, right? Yeah, for me, I've replaced doom scrolling at night with reading, journaling, thinking. I try my best, even though sometimes I really don't want to. It's kind of like when you don't want to go to the gym, but you always feel good after you go to the gym. When you want to doom scroll, but you read a book or you do something else, and then you go to bed and you have the best sleep ever, or you just know that if you did doom scroll, you would stay up later and then you wouldn't have a good day the next day. You always are happy with the good decision that you made. So when my phone is in my room, it's charged. Even though my notifications are off, I turn it face down. And in general, I think an important point to make is that I always try and make sure it's never in my peripheral view. So if I'm doing work, I intentionally put it behind my laptop or literally outside of the environment that I'm in. If it's in my bedroom, it's not on my bed or in front of me. If I'm reading my book, it's not beside me in my view. It's somewhere far away because it's not in sight in any way. I'm not enticed to pick it up because it's like more cheese, right? It's like, oh, so addicting. It immediately reminds you of the scroll you could have that could make you feel so good in the moment, but then feel poorly after. So the way that I'm personally trying to go about it, this is not my reality yet, but the way that I really want to go about it moving into the new year is having a home for my phone, like a little place, like basically, where you put your keys when you come in. I want to have a parking spot for my phone, and that's where it stays the majority of the time. Maybe I'll have a little phone call with my family or my parents, whatever, but then after it goes to the parking spot. And that's that. I could not upload this video without adding this part in. It's so important. So I come back to film it after the fact. You also need to ensure that your phone is as boring as possible. So many people use all of the different apps and features that you can add to make your phone look pretty and and you just want to stare at it because it's so good at your background and this and that. Of course, you can add your own little touch to it, make it you, but you want to make scrolling on your phone boring. So if you see here, I have no social media apps on the front screen of my phone. So now that we have the home screen on iPhone, thank God it took forever. Now that we have the home screen on iPhone, any apps that I could doom scroll on are not on my home screen. They're not there. The only thing that's on my home screen is I have a folder for mail, I have a folder for fitness, I have a folder for my finances, that's the most filled one, and then travel, where I have like Airbnb, all the airplane apps, because apparently you need an app for every airplane now, blah, blah, blah. So this is actually the first screen when you open my phone. On this one, you see the weather, settings, camera, blah, 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 all the boring stuff that come with the iPhone. And at the bottom, obviously, the practical things that I would need: WhatsApp, iMessage, phone, Spotify when I do listen to music and podcast. So it's very boring. I have a very pale color. I like pink. So I have a pale pink and it's plain, which helps subconsciously remove the excitement. I don't really think it matters what you do on your actual lock screen. Do whatever you want, but make your phone as boring as possible. And when freedom is on, it's not on at the moment. When I even go back here to try and click on an app that I would doom scroll on, it will just be slightly faded. So it doesn't allow me to actually click on it. And another thing I wanted to touch on is phone etiquette. So when I'm with people, dinner dates, coffee date, just meeting up with somebody in person, my phone is in my purse. If you're a guy, in your pocket, wherever you keep your things. So as soon as I walk into the environment where I'm meeting up with that person, my phone is out of sight, out of mind. And I'm very intentional with the moment that I'm in. I'm very present in the conversation. The only time I might bring up my phone is if we're in a yap session and I'm showing them something specific, and then it goes right back in, not in my hand, not on the table, because there's just no reason for it to be there. Again, it's like we're going to be intentional with our time together, and there's no way I can be intentional with this person in front of me and my phone. So we keep it away. We think of it as not something that's just a part of every single situation, but as something that we have our period of time where we use it so we can connect socially, as that's what it is made for. And that's the only reason we would keep these apps and these things going. And of course, if you want to stay a little bit of aware with like what's going on in culture, you need to stay connected. So this is how we form a relationship with our phone so we can do so and keep it moving. Alrighty, so I've given you the protocol, but none of this will work until you change your identity with your phone. So no self-deprecating jokes about how you're chronically online or you're just so brain rotted. For those of you who have accepted that doom gloom mentality, you literally need to gaslight yourself into believing that you are someone who is not dependent on your screen anymore. You can't identify as someone who, I don't know, I just can't help it. I just doom scroll for 4 hours. There's comments like that. Oh, I just can't help it. I have to check everything immediately. Even if you don't believe it, tell yourself that your attention belongs to you fully, that your phone is an addition to your life that keeps you connected in a way that you feel good about, that your brain belongs to you, that you can be bored and actually enjoy it. Tell yourself these things, especially in the hard moments. And this is the same mindset you have when you're struggling with things like indulging in an activity you know you shouldn't. You have to tell yourself, in this moment, I really want to go do this thing that normally makes me feel good, but I do not identify as that person anymore. My belief now is that my phone is an addition to my life that positively impacts me. And if I go do this right now, that is not what I'm doing. So I'm going to fight through this. Let me set a timer for 10 minutes with this phone that I'm trying to stay off of and see if it works. And then in the next 10 minutes, if I still feel this urge, we'll set another 10 minutes and we'll keep doing that. And eventually you're not going to feel like that anymore. All right. So we've covered a lot of bases. But what happens if you relapse? Everyone does. I already talked about it. I do. I rarely know anybody who is super intentional with their phone and locked in and doesn't go through this period. Again, because we've accepted in the beginning of how powerful these apps are. So this is what you're going to do when the time comes. You acknowledge what has occurred. Usually you're going to relapse in a moment of weakness. A lot's going on in your life. You didn't get good sleep. You see, it's very hard to have that mental willpower. Stuff is going on in your life. You got bad news. You really just wanted to self-soothe, and the things that you normally are able to self-soothe with that are more positive, it was just extremely difficult for you to do it in this period, and it happened. This is usually time that you're going to get caught up again. Identify what the cause could be. For me, it's always a lack of sleep that initiates the trigger that leads to a moment of weakness. So if I get poor sleep for multiple days, I'll have a moment of weakness where I will wake up and I'll go on my phone and then boom, we're cooked. Or before bed, I'll have that moment. Or I just get caught up in some internet thing that really intrigues me. And then all of a sudden, like maybe I just find a YouTube channel that I get really enticed by and I'm so excited to watch and I watch all their videos. And then all of a sudden I'm watching them every day and it became a routine. And I'm ending the session on freedom every day. And it's like, wait, this is not what we're supposed to be doing. That just recently happened to me. And this is against my best interest to say, because obviously I would love for you guys to just binge all the videos. And I know some of you do, but it's important to, again, intentionally watch, intentionally take in the information. Because sometimes I'll rewatch a video and I'll be like, I didn't even remember these points. Was I really present when I was watching this? And now that's so important to me. So you acknowledge it without shame. You also figure out the trigger, and then you find a way to remove or block the trigger. So your trigger may be different. For me, it's like, okay, we are getting good sleep tonight so we can reset, because also getting bad sleep for me triggers bad habits in every area, from the phone to my food choices. It's always lack of sleep that leads to these. So my immediate thing is, no matter what I feel like I have to check off my list, doesn't matter. We're going to focus right now on getting good sleep so we can make better choices. This is something that I'm extremely aware of, and you need to get aware of your own patterns and habits. Then you create that parking spot or that place where you're going to keep your phone and you leave it there, and try and replace any moment for this period of time where you relapse with some sort of activity that is not painful, that you enjoy. So going on a walk, literally touch grass, paint, color, draw, do something like insane that you would only do when you were a child. Like see how many elastic bands you can tie together, or if you can count all of the bricks on a building. Lean back into that childlike boredom. Hopefully, for those of you like the Gen Alphas, I don't even know if you really even know what the childlike boredom is, but that's what we used to be doing. We used to be doing that. That's why we had those weird challenges. We were eating Tide Pods because we were bored. And a reminder, I think I've basically described this already, that the relapse is data. And then you reset and you try and do that for like 2 or 3 days and it should get you back on track. You can see how any relapse is going to be data for you, because you can see the pattern and then be able to break it and then decrease the chances of you falling back into that, or knowing, okay, this time when I relapsed, I did this protocol and whatever, and this worked really well. So next time I can do that and I can change this and do that and do this. So it's going to be annoying, but you can see it as data, and that's how you move forward. Alrighty, things are only going to continue to get louder. AI is also amping things up, making things worse. People aren't thinking for themselves anymore. Any single small decision, they're asking ChatGPT, and they're in relationships with ChatGPT and all the things. Things are only getting worse. So it's important that you get this. This is part one. The phone and social media is literally part one of the insane addiction, and it's just going to continue to get worse. So it's like, if you can get this under control, or at least have a protocol around it, you'll be in a much better position than most people. I think The people who thrive, win, feel good, live an abundant life, succeed, do interesting things are going to be the people that can think, that have a clear mind, that love boredom. That's the real luxury. If you can't sit with your own thoughts, sit with yourself, and go out and live life without this metal device in your hands, then it's not looking good. It's not over. It's never over. But, it's getting sticky. It's getting real scary out here. We have this precious, precious life we only get one chance at. Majority of people are spending all of the hours that we have of our precious life on your phone. So make it an intentional decision to live a life that feels like your own, to use the time that you have doing things that you love intentionally, digging deep into the depths of yourself and figuring out who you are. You deserve to have a brain that feels clear, thoughts that belong to you, a nervous system that's leveled a majority of the time. You deserve to have relationships that feel real, feel deep, feel connected. And obviously, you'd be hotter if you logged out too.